Hello and welcome back. Today we'll be making a spiced mead. Here's what you'll need for that. A 1-gallon carboy, some water, 2 pounds of honey, some ginger and raisins, and then your spice mix, as well as some molasses. And if you feel like we've been here before, that is because we have. Unfortunately, while I was racking the last one, I knocked the carboy onto the ground after doing a taste test, and I broke the carboy, and mead went absolutely everywhere. So be more careful than I am. But we're going to get started here. I did warm this honey and molasses up this time, and I'm using a different honey. It is a raw, unfiltered honey that tastes really good, and it is what the store had available when I went to get the ingredients for this. Again, I warmed it up. You can see how easily that pours, as well as the molasses. Honey and molasses are both relatively thick. They don't pour or mix easily when they're cool or at room temperature. So this was warmed up to probably between 90 and 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And I will be getting the rest of that out a little bit later. Again, 2 pounds of honey, and I am using 4 ounces of molasses. Hindsight, I probably should have just used 2. All you could smell when I went to put the lid on this was the molasses, so probably use a little bit less than I did, and that might change by the end. Some of these ingredients, as they extract, they might balance out with that molasses, but when I first closed this up, all you could smell was molasses. Like I said, we're going to get the rest of that honey. We're going to add some water to this container, and we're going to shake that up. Give that a good shake. Because it's warm, it mixes pretty easily, so I didn't have to do this too many times. It was at this moment that my ADHD brain realized I had forgotten the tea. This is a spiced black tea, a chai tea essentially. I used 3 tea bags, and this is for that tannin from the tea, as well as the flavors of that spiced tea are going to mix very well with this. So we are using that today. And then we're going to dump in that honey water, and we're going to go one more time, and then this thing is pretty much done. We've gotten all the honey out of it. Quick shake, and we're going to pour that in. So at this moment I realized I also forgot my mixing spoon, which has been sitting in the bucket of sanitizer solution. I use Star San, mixed to the manufacturer's recommendations with water. And then we're just going to fill this jug up about halfway with water so that we can mix in that honey and molasses. General rule of thumb, when mixing honey and molasses, they are thick and they don't mix particularly well, so go until you think you're done, and then go a little bit longer. That is going to help you get an accurate measurement on your gravity readings, and if you're at a point where you might be stressing the yeast with the amount of sugar you have in there, this is going to let you know that accurately, so you can adjust as needed. I like to scrape the bottom of the carboy right across the middle and lift the spoon out. If there's no honey clinging to the spoon, you're probably good. I did go a little bit longer just to make sure and to get some extra oxygen into that mix. Yeast, when they are first starting off, do need oxygen to build up a colony. And again, I'm just gonna not be able to focus here. On this plate, we have a 4-inch cut of ginger, half of which was grated on a small cheese grater, a narrow cheese grater. The other half was just cut into small cubes. And then a handful of raisins as well, which I chopped up a little bit. We are going to be using a bag today. This is a brew bag for fruit and such, or in this case, spices, just to help with cleanup when we go to rack this. And I'm using those raisins to scoop or scrape as much of that ginger juice off that plate as I can. This is something I didn't do in the first version that was definitely missing when I tasted it. I'm also making a few other adjustments based on what I tasted before I dropped the whole thing on the ground. We are going to be using 8 to 10 allspice berries. I think I went with 10 just because I absolutely love how allspice smells and it doesn't overpower like clove does. We're going to use, same as last time, 2 cinnamon sticks. That second one is kind of small, so I'm going to grab a different one there. And you can adjust these to your preferences, obviously. If there's something here you don't like, you can leave it out or substitute something else. Nutmeg would be a great choice here, but I couldn't find any whole nutmegs in any of the grocery stores around me. And this is really a very crucial step when you go to pick up your tea. Make sure you try to drag it along the table and just spill it absolutely everywhere. Just make sure you make a big mess. If you're not cooking and you're not making a mess, are you even doing it right? Then we're going to go ahead and pour that in, and once again, just make sure you spill some. Just make sure you're making the absolute biggest mess possible. Really just spill it all over the goddamn place. And then we are done with those tea bags. We are not going to leave those in the brew. You can get some odd bitter flavors from tea when you let it steep for too long. And I think I'm hydrating, but really you don't need to do that. Then we're just going to tie that bag off and then just drop it in. You're all set with that. You could use, if you can't find brew bags, or in this case the fruit bags, you can use cheesecloth. You're just going to want to double or triple it up so things don't get through the mesh on a cheesecloth. But that works absolutely fine. That is also obviously a food grade item. And then we're just going to fill this the rest of the way with water and mix it up to make sure it is homogeneous. Like I said, these are a little bit smaller than the regular carboy that I used last time, or the oversized Little Big Mouth bubbler, but both of my Little Big Mouth bubblers are currently in use. So we're just going to give that a stir. Like I said, all I could smell was molasses at this point, which hopefully, as those spices and that ginger extract, that will change, but maybe only do 2 ounces of molasses if you're going to be doing this the same way I did. Then we're going to take a gravity reading. Make sure you don't prepare at all, so you have no idea what to do with any of this stuff on the table. And dump out that extra sanitizer solution and take your reading. This did come out a little bit higher than last time, probably because of that smaller jug size, so I am probably closer to a gallon. This came out to 1.088. Also, molasses is sugar, so that will affect it as well. Yeah, this came out to a 1.088 gravity reading. Give that a spin to make sure you break any bubbles off of it so it's floating on its own. And then we're going to take notes real quick here. Make sure you're writing everything down, the date you started, your original gravity, and what is in the brew. So for me, again, I used 2 pounds of honey, 4 ounces of molasses, 2 cinnamon sticks, 2 cloves, 10 allspice berries, and about a 4-inch cut of ginger, and a handful of raisins. Those cloves were a little overpowering last time, so I dropped from 4 to 2. And then once you finish taking notes, we can put this back in because it was sanitized, so I'm not worried about any errant bacteria in the test tube. Check for temperature before pitching your yeast. If your brew is too hot, you can damage the colony or kill it outright. You don't want your brew over 110 degrees when you pitch your yeast. Really, you don't want it over 100 because you can really stress it out. This was warm, but probably not even 90 degrees anymore between the amount of water added. I am using a Red Star Premier Cuvée today. It is a higher alcohol tolerance than the Safe LSO4 that I used last time, and it is a neutral. It doesn't have any sort of strong esters. And then we're just going to let that sit. I did use the full packet as well, just because of the lack of additional nutrition. Just give that yeast the strongest chance possible. If you are following along, let me know how it goes for you. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.